Children, they say, are the leaders of tomorrow. However, these potential leaders are deprived of the necessary skill set and knowledge to prepare them for the envisioned future. Data from the United Nations Population Fund (UNFPA) estimates that Nigeria currently has a population of 211.4 million. Of these 211.4 million, about 105 million are estimated as under the age of 19, and about 15 million of the 105 million are out-of-school children, according to statistics by the United Nations Children's Fund (UNICEF). 218,278 of these out-of-school children are in Oyo State, according to data from the Oyo State government. You wouldn't need to travel too far to see a tangible proof of these statistics, as just 128 kilometers inland northeast of Lagos, in the ancient city of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, you'll find several of these future leaders on the streets begging to eke out a living. These child beggars are mostly found in areas like Mokola, Iwo Road, Ojaoba, and Songo from 8 a.m. every day. We investigated one of the areas, Iwo Road, to lend credence to this data. Although I had lived in Ibadan for a few years and had experienced this menace, nothing could have prepared me for the huge traffic of children between the ages of 3 and 15 years running after vehicles and begging for alms from passers-by here. A woman who preferred to remain anonymous was seen distributing food and drinks to the children. At Mokola, the scene was slightly different, as just a day before our arrival, the state government had begun an evacuation process of relocating the beggars to a facility at Akinyele. This, however, didn't stop some of the children from approaching vehicles, including ours, in their usual custom. They dodged as soon as they spotted the camera, but we were able to speak with a few of them.
Dani da kakata ne ana. Kakata sun tafi yawon bara. Yawon bara. Ban san da suke zuwa ba. Ban san da suke zuwa ba.
There seemed to be a conspiracy of silence here, as the children were very reluctant to speak. In Yekini's case, he explained that his brother's wife sent him out of the house and he was in need of transport fare.
14. Mo mi lọ́dọ̀ ẹ̀gbọ́n mi. Ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ó ti wá jáde. Ìyàwó ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ló wá lé mi. Ìyàwó ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ẹ kò lé. Bẹ́ẹ̀. Nǹkan owó onínànà lé mi. Mo wá ń lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ mẹ́yìn. Bí mo sá ń lọ nígbà mo wá sá lọ ọ̀dọ̀ mẹ́yìn ní alẹ́ àná. Bí mo sá jọ̀dọ̀ wọn á mú mi padà lọ. Wọ́n mú mi padà lọ sọ́dọ̀ wọn. Wọ́n tún wá mú mi wá sọ wọ́n wá ná mi. Wọ́n sọ yí pé mo sọ fún mímí pé mo tẹ̀lé wọn lọ yí pé lọ́mọ gbọ́dọ̀ wọn. Mímí sọ yí pé ìlé gbọ́dọ̀ àwọn yí pé tí n bá ti dúró bí bẹ́ẹ̀ yí pé àwọn ó yín mi nù tí n gbọ́dọ̀ àwọn mọ́. Ìgbà tán wá fi mí bẹ̀ mo wá pò ń bẹ̀ nígbà mo wá.
Iṣẹ́ kí ni mọ́mì rẹ̀ ṣe?
Mo ń tàgbàdo.
Dáàdì rẹ̀ kọ́.
Mo ti kú.
Nígbà wo ni wọ́n kó tọ́jú èyí?
Ó ti pẹ́.
We noticed there was a much older young man who seemed to be in charge here. We asked him a few questions. We also felt the pulse of passers-by on the menace.
Ìjọba náà ló lè take ìgbésẹ̀ láti bóyá wọ́n máa kó wọn lẹ̀ nígbà pé kí wọ́n máa kó wọn bóyá wọ́n kó wọn síbì kan tí òbí wọn bá lágbára bóyá wọ́n lè wá máa gbà tàbí pé.
Ìlú tí ò dáa ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó tó yẹ wípé ẹ wo irú country wa ní ìsìn a lè fi bí another country mi ẹ wo country mi iṣẹ́ pọ̀ tábàrọ̀mọ tó bá fẹ́ le gan-an tó bá di pé wọ́n bá wé ó padà sẹ́nu iṣẹ́ ó kọ́ṣẹ́ kò ní di pé yóò máa tọrọ owó ṣùgbọ́n country ẹ̀rí gbogbo ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ tí ń tà mọ́ tí ẹ̀ ń tọrọ owó tí ẹ̀ ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ kí kò sí iṣẹ́ ọ̀kọ́ ẹlòmíín la kò síṣẹ́ nílùú kò sí nǹkan kan ìlú ọ̀fà gbogbo ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀rọ ọmọ mi nù nígbà bá gbọ́n òrì jẹ kánú yóò àti kékeré àtọmọdún 4-5 ni ó ti mọ ọmọ bí ẹ ṣe ń tọrọ nǹkan bí ẹ ṣe ń béèrè nǹkan káàkiri tó bá wá ń dàgbà lọ nínú nǹkan tó fa gbogbo yẹ ìlú gangan lọ́wọ́ ìjọba ló ti kọ́ sí tó pọ̀ jù kó tó kà wọ́n torí bàbá náà tó fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ àjà tó fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ tí wọn ò rí iṣẹ́ ṣe tí wọn ọ̀rọ̀ náà kan gbà ìlú kọ́ sí ẹ̀.
Mr. Ajani Taiwo, a resident of Labiran community, explained to us why he allows his daughter beg.
Ntí ó fa tí ọmọ yẹn fi ń tọrọ owó ni pé bàbá ẹ̀ kò sí ìyá ẹ̀ lèmi fẹ́ lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí bàbá ẹ̀ kú bọ̀tí ńgbà tó di pé àtẹ̀kọ́ ọmọ yẹn ó dàbẹ̀ ni pé sẹ́wọ̀n pé ń sì ìyá ò lè jọ ìyá ń dẹ̀ sí bàbá ò lè jọ bàbá wọn bá agbára tí irú èmi ní tí mò ń ṣe pẹ̀lú ọmọ yẹn mo rò bí bóyá kì í ṣe pé ò tẹ́ lọ́rùn kò kíní yẹn ò tó fún un sódà tí n bá kàn rìn sí irú Lábìrán yẹn sí Bẹ́rùnkà wọ́n á kàn máa sọ fún mi pé wọ́n máa rí bí ọdún o wọ́n sọ pé ebi ń pa ebi ń ṣe kíní ká ebi wo ló ń pa àwa náà dẹ́rùn bọ̀ tèmi náà mọ̀ yìí pé èmi gan tí mò ń tíráì lórí rẹ̀ gan èmi gan èyó ká mọ̀ tán ra wa ibẹ̀ tí wọ́n bá agbára tí mo ní mò ń ṣe fún un so mi ò rí báwí lórí irú lẹ́bù ìyẹn ti bí ọdún yẹn.
He added that the COVID-19 pandemic had a negative impact on his business and consequently his family.
COVID-19 yẹn na lásìkò gbà yẹn kí yẹn burú sí i nítorí pé mi ò ti àsí ní Ìbàdàn gbà yẹn ṣáìdì Ọ̀ṣun state yẹn ní ọ̀rẹ́ ìní sẹ́yìn ẹ̀ka èmi mọ́ táwa gan ò lè wá sílé so ti yé pẹ̀lú pé kò sí ọkọ̀ kankan ìgbà yẹn ló ti worst sí.
On the other hand, Mr. Taufik, a trader, explained that he doesn't approve of his son's attitude of begging.
kí n bá pé bó ṣe ń tọrọ owó pé àwọn ìmúfẹ́ sí pé ká ní ìdíjọ àjẹjọ dókòó àjẹ sọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí òbí sí tíṣà so pé ọlọ́run àbá nínú kúrò lẹ́nu rẹ̀. táàsì lórí ẹ̀ náà ni wípé à ń bẹ lọ́run fún náà ni so ìgbà míì ni mo lè rí pé kó jókòó sí di ọjà pé kọ́ mọ́ fi rí ibi káàkiri pé láti pẹ́ àwọn ọmọ tó ń lọ mo lè pé kó jókòó mọ́sálásí ń bẹ̀ so mo sáà rí àmójútó àmọ́nító rẹ̀.
Mrs. Khadija Mutairu is of the opinion that child begging is as a result of parents' irresponsibility, adding that some parents couldn't find their children some weeks ago.
ẹni tí ń fa ebi sọmọ mi bẹ́ẹ̀ ọmọ tí ó bá sí lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tí ìyá rẹ̀ náà ò tọ́ ọmọ tí ń ráre kí tí ò níṣẹ́ ọmọ ọ̀ráre kí pé ságbà mọ̀ ń bọ́ èmi ti jáde tọ́bẹ̀ eégún lọ tọ́ráre lọ òǹtẹ́ẹ̀lì tọ́ráre lọ bí àpàlọ́ ọmọ ọ̀tọ̀rọ̀ oúnjẹ ọmọ ọ̀dàlágbé lọ́mọ fi dọmọ ọlọ́mọ ń bá lọ́pọlọ yóò ràn ọmọ rẹ̀ sùkú irú àwa tá a kà ju mẹ́fà yìí lọ àwa ń bẹ lọ́nkọ́ ọmọ wọ́ kà jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ torí iṣẹ́ tiwa àwa fi ń tọ́ ọmọ tí a ní kọ́mọ tí wọ́n lè tún wá sí lẹ́nu lọ́la kọ́ndísàn àti ẹni ọ̀lẹ́ bá ti já lára látàárọ̀ ọjọ́ tí ọmọọṣẹ́ tí ó ṣe jẹun tí ọmọ sílé kan papọ̀ mọ́ sílé méjì ọmọ rẹ̀ ọ̀dọ̀mọ ọlọ́mọ yóò dàlágbé ìyá gan ọ̀dàlágbé tó ipò dìgbà ọkọ bá dé kí wọn ó tó jẹun gbélé ẹjẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀ torí wọn ṣe wọn mọ́lé nígbà tí wọn wá bóde ìlú yẹn tó wá pọ̀ sí pẹ̀lú ọ̀lẹ́ wọn wá fi ṣàgbé ní gbogbo bí ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì sísìn ẹlòmíín wọ́n ọmọ tiẹ̀ kí ni àwọn ò sì ní báyàn wọ́n ọmọ kí.
She, however, stated that she gives her children goods to hawk after school as a way to train them in the art of buying and selling.
ọmọ tí a nùnú léwu tí wọn bá ti kiri obì tẹ̀lé bá ní ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ bóde lọ́ọ̀dẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wọn ò bí wọn dáa èmi gan ẹsẹ̀ dé ni bí wọn ò ṣe ní sùkúù lónìí wọn ti kiri obì wọn ti darí wọnú ilé wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ bí wọn ti ń dáná oúnjẹ wọn ń jẹun kò dáa àmọ́ a gbọ́dọ̀ fún ọmọ ní brain àti owó kíkà bá bá ń kọ́ wọn skul a tún gbọ́dọ̀ fún wọn ní brain ẹ̀kọ́ owó sísí £1 sílẹ̀ 5 £5 múrí kan 500 èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́ ọmọ lórí ọjà.
The Mogaji of Ilenla Labiran community, Chief Olajuwon Adelokun Subar, also spoke to us on the issue.
It's a menace, and it's something that has actually been disturbing the activities and the whole society.
He identified the roles of the government in curbing the practice.
What has caused this problem is majorly the system. We have to fault the government for allowing this to go on and on and on and on, and it has become such a major menace in the entire city. I mean, you can't even go around places like Mokola, Challenge, all the urban center in Ibadan, for instance, without being harassed, because I'll call it harassment. It's not just ordinary begging where people just request, it's harassment. You know, they come to you, they start pestering, they don't leave you, even if you don't give them audience, they pester you in an attacking form. They make it seem like you just have to give it to them. If you don't drive off, they don't go off. So it's become such a huge disturbance to everyone, and it's all based on the system. The government has neglected these people. The government is not seeing it as a problem. The government do not care that this has been going on for long, and the government is actually not bringing up any facility, any policy, any sort of innovations or way to actually put these people in place. You know, they are victims of a crooked system, a victim of system that do not, that a victim of system that does not actually provide for people, or that doesn't give people privileges.
The Oyo State Commissioner for Information, Honorable Wasiu Olatubosun, explained the recent evacuation process by the state government, which started on Tuesday, June 15.
We have been on it for the past 7-8 months now, and not only all forms of street begging, what we are working on, and we realize that you cannot remove children without, and leave out the parents, the mothers, the fathers. Sometimes the whole family are into that business. So we then decided that it's better, and we key into the directive of His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde that being a welfareist, that we should provide alternative accommodation where they will feel at home. So, and that's why we put up the settlement center at Akinyele. Last week, we commenced the evacuation of those beggars from Sabo. So, more or less, that's the headquarters of these people. So we move about 1,600 people.
However, Hajia Aisha Ismail, coordinator of the Matan Arawa for Sustainable Development Initiatives, says the evacuation process was not sustainable, as this isn't the first time the beggars would be evacuated.
It is not. It is not, my dear. It is not. The government is just wasting their time. Why can you say you keep somebody? You understand? When you keep somebody, you feed that person in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. You have him, giving him toilet, you give him all the necessary thing without electricity. Because in Akinyele, there is no electricity there. And they gave them all this thing. How long will the government continue to feed them? Instead of feeding them, why not return them? If they don't know where they are going, they know where they came from. But if the government is really ready to do this thing, you understand? And this is a place whereby we have courtesan everywhere. They use human being. Many of them used to get lost. Nobody will see them again. They have used them for rituals. Is it when they are in Akinyele, where there is no light, that the ritualists will not go there and pack them in the middle of the night?
The commissioner states otherwise.
When we evacuated them from the street, what we did is that we started providing. We provide them, and next stage is contact tracing. In fact, some of their families have been coming to see them there.
On whether there were plans to return the Almajiris to their states of origin, he had this to say.
Those who are Nigerian, those who still want to be here, who sit down and critically look at what we are going to do. But those who want to go back to their people, who lead them to do, who assist them to get back to.
Hajia Aisha noted that in 2014, the total number of the beggars stood at 7,000, but have now increased to about 14,000 due to the COVID-19 pandemic and other factors.
There were over 7,000 beggars across the 33 local governments in Oyo State. But if I want to tell you approximately, I will tell you there are over 14.
Over 14?
14,000. Kano and Jigawa has the highest number of beggars in Oyo State. They have what we call Sarki Makafi, that is the Oba of the Afro Jews. You understand? The Oba of the Afro Jews and the Oba of the crippled and the blind. They have the king of the blind and the king of the disabled. Okay? the COVID-19 really affected them, not negatively, positively, because even when the government said there is no movement, there is this, there is that, they were still coming down from the north. And when I see that the population is increasing, I need to write again to the governor and tell him, look, the population of these people is increasing now. People in the north, even at the heart of the pandemic, you understand, at the heart of the pandemic, in the north, they were exchanging almajiris, beggars. They were exchanging them. Kaduna will take to Kano, Kano will take to Jugawa, Kano will also return the one of Kaduna back to Kaduna, and so on and so forth.
She proffers a solution while hinting that there were some political actors hindering the process due to their political ambitions.
They have already politicized the whole issue, because when I spoke to the representative of the Hausa community, what he was telling me was that they are not going to take them back home because it will affect them negatively. So if it will affect them negatively, it means it is the election they want to win. It is not the security of the masses. The solution to this problem is this: yes, we have right to stay anywhere we want because we are Nigerians. We have right, you understand, to when we see something, we say something. Do we have that right? Then, if we have that right, in the north today, what brought about Boko Haram? All those children you are seeing on the street, they are not educated. They don't go to Islamic school. How would they have the fear of God? They don't go to Western education. How would they be able to know their right from their left? Those one at home, it is the issue of the government of Oyo State. It is their problem. This is his own people. Let him do something good for them. You said free education, isn't it? Then let them go to school. The children should go to school freely. Then those adult ones should, have a kind of skill acquisition. Taught them how to sell, how to make soap, how to make clothes, fashion designer, making hair, and so on and so forth.
She also established the two categories of the child beggars as those from the northern region, known as the Almajiris, and the Oyo State indigents.
The Almajiris in the north are the Almajiris that went for Arabic schools. Their parents are not there. Some of them are from Niger, from Chad, from wherever. They will tell you, if you go to Kano, if you go to so state, there is one big malam there that can teach them very well this and that. And that's why they are there. But the Almajiris here are not that type of Almajiris. The Almajiris here are child abuse children.
But why are these children not in school, despite the free education policy of the state government?
The best thing first is to work on the psyche of the people, work on their mindsets, let people voluntarily see the reason why they should give their children good education. More so when there is it is free. Two, once they know that it's against child rights law to deny them the education, their rights to education, they won't have choice than to do that. Just make sure that their children go to school.
On the health risks associated with street begging, we spoke with a family doctor, Dr. Ebolomo Walker, who is also the former coordinator of the Child Protection Network, Oyo State.
Children are still very fragile, they're still immature, they're still growing in physical size, they're growing in psychological functions. And so when mentally they're getting, they're increasing. So when you have them exposed, the first thing, the areas of need for children, food. Beggars can eat well. There's no, people who are using them that way will not even feed them well. So when children are not being nourished enough, they get malnourished. And the foundation of diseases to do with malnutrition are built during childhood. So for the girls among them, they will not mature well. For the boys, malnutrition, food, vitamins are not there. And so they will not grow well. They will be prone to diseases because of the immunity that will not be well built. And then they are exposed to hazards, hazard of injury. You see them on the streets. You can get a vehicle, even if they are not right on the streets. A vehicle can lose control. We also know that they can actually be kidnapped away. Some of them are actually, because everything can happen to them on the street. Then they are prone to infections. They are under the rain, under the sunshine. You can see them very ragged looking. And then with this COVID-19, we have it on the streets, and where they congregate later in the day. If you go around that area, you will see large numbers of them. Of course, there can be no COVID compliance under that situation. So they're either very prone to having the disease or even being a transmitter of the disease. Because children normally, we have seen they don't come down with the diseases, but they can transmit it to adults. So they can transmit it among the adults, among themselves, and even to the general population. So COVID-19 is a possibility among them. And then we also have skin disease, rabies, because they are not birthing.
Could lack of family planning be a contributory factor to this menace?
Yeah, that is true. Africans don't believe in family planning, especially the uneducated ones. Even in some areas, the educated ones. So where you have a lack of use of family planning, in the absence of gainful employment, you have too many children, and then you have them ending on the streets. And also culturally too, in some areas, maybe tied to religion, like we have in the north. Parents are supposed to take care of children till about 4 years. After that, especially the boys, you send them to the malams or the clerics.
A child rights lawyer, Barrister Nike Ibitara, explained the legal implications of the practice.
The Child Rights Law of Oyo State 2006, of course, makes primary education, even the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, makes the primary education, secondary education compulsory. So ordinarily, there should not be any child on the streets, either trading or begging during school hours. So ordinarily, that's is a contravention of the law. Now, parents have that duty to provide care for their children or to their children, and any parents that fails actually will face some penalties under the law or punishments under the law, and that's the Child Rights Law of your state. And of course, depriving that child of the right to education, which is enshrined in the Constitution, 1999 Constitution. So that's taking it from the legal perspective. If you look at the fact that it's thriving, that child begging is thriving, it's about enforcement. I think enforcement has been very weak. We have the Ministry of Social Welfare and Social Inclusion in the states, and that ministry has that primary role to ensure that children are in school.
Why are there no arrests and prosecutions, especially as begging was made a recordable offense in December 2003 as part of the then Labour government's drive to tackle crime and antisocial behavior?
Enforcement is weak, and then of course there's sentiments of well, their parents, and nobody is just paying attention to it. I think it's also not being deliberate about being concerned about children. If we're really worried or concerned that children should get the best out of life and become people, successful individuals, then we'll be bothered as to what kind of life they live as children. So the society and then the state in particular that has resources instrument of force and enforcement, and then the law are not doing enough.
One of the agencies saddled with the responsibility of educating and orientating the public on government policies is the National Orientation Agency. We spoke with the state director, Mrs. Folake Ayola, on what the agency has been doing to sensitize the public about the risks of this menace.
The effort we are making is meeting with the parents, going to schools to persuade them, to talk to them, to enlighten them, to sensitize them that if you stay in school, it's better for you. Your tomorrow will be brighter and you will enjoy yourself. So that is what we are doing.
We also made several attempts to reach the Commissioner for Women Affairs, Alhaja Fausat Sani, as well as the Commissioner for Youth and Sport, Sheun Fakorede, but they proved abortive. Latif Aremu, an economist, is of the opinion that if nothing is done about the standard of living of citizens, the menace might not end.
Well, when something is bad already, and there is now a situation that makes it worse, then the whole thing will explode. The economic situation was already bad, and now we add COVID-19, which compounded the whole situation. Then if we add about, for instance, let's say before COVID, we had about 10 kids on the streets that the parents were not making enough money. COVID would definitely have thrown another 10 parents out of their jobs. That means we have additional 10 kids on the street. So COVID definitely contributed to the larger amount of kids. Now let me give you a scenario. At the height of COVID situation in Nigeria, the Nigerian government declared that the economy was in recession by all indication. A lot of people lost their job. By then, the National Bureau of Statistics estimated that 20 million Nigerians lost their job between March 2020 and October 2020. So between that 20 million, the assumption is that about 10 million of them had nothing to fall back upon. Some of them had a small business they fall back on. Those are the kind of people you say, despite losing their source of income, they were still able to carry on. But for those who had nothing to fall back upon, definitely a lot of them will have to take the kids out of the school. Gradually, they won't be able to fill the kids. And if someone, or perchance, they had an insight that we can send these kids into the streets to beg and get a little change for us to feed, these people will definitely send their.
Professor Peter Olakbegba from the Department of Psychology, University of Ibadan, spoke on the psychological impact of the practice on both parents and their children.
You look at such parents and such home, you are going to see evidence of dysfunctionality. When the family is dysfunctional, then there's no proper care for the children, no proper monitoring. Parents don't even know whether the child gets to school or not, because many in this category is either the child during school hours to go out begging, or the child will completely abscond from home. But for some, the child is still at home. Now people who are trading, petty traders who are trading with 5,000, 10,000, COVID actually wiped that off. Now if the means of livelihood is wiped off, I mean, you are looking at your children, they are hungry, you've borrowed, nobody's ready to give you a loan again. You've collected food stuff on loan, you've not even been able to pay. Now you may begin to look at it that the only way out is actually to beg.
He also spoke on how the government can intervene.
Social security system is almost non-existent. I know government, as well as state government, talk in terms of social welfare units and all of that, but I don't see any effectiveness in that. In fact, you don't even see them around. It's only when you have a very serious thing. Look, is there a social welfare unit in this state? You get there, I don't know what they're doing. You understand? So I think what should be done is that government should put structures in place. I mean, there should be places people can go to when they have issues like this. There should be social workers who even go to areas where vulnerable people are. And of course, government should put in place enable environments that can make private individuals and corporate entities to do intervention. I mean, in some other climes, someone may build a house, a shelter that the poor can come in and be fed. I mean, for some of those places, you don't sleep over. You just come in, you take a meal, you leave, and all of that. Now, government should put this in place. Encourage corporate organizations and individuals. When these places are put in place, then psychologists can be invited. Of course, they can see it as part of their own corporate social responsibility.
Although the history of street begging in Nigeria is uncertain, it is known to have been in existence even before the country gained her independence in 1960. The menace has, however, seen an increase due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has had and indeed is still having a huge impact on the livelihoods of citizens, who in turn have devised alternatives to make ends meet, even at the expense of their children's future. From this research, it is evident that poverty, illiteracy, religion, and culture are the major factors responsible for child begging. There is no one-size-fits-all formula to tackle this menace. The government has a huge role to play by giving incentives and empowering the parents of these children with sources of income, while providing the means for those who would like to return to their states of origin. There is also need for more awareness programs to be organized to bring to bear the dangers of this practice to both parents and their children, and also emphasize the importance of sending their children to school. Finally, the full wrath of the law should be enforced on child rights violators to serve as deterrent to potential offenders.